Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Training Industry Leader Talk, Building a Learning Culture for Organizational Success, sponsored by Allego, Canvas, Udemy Business, and ROI Training. So welcome. I am Liz Spade, the Events Marketing Specialist here at Training Industry, and I'm thrilled to have you with us here today. Before we get started, though, I would like to quickly go over a few housekeeping items to help you interact with our speakers and get the most out of today's program. So if you haven't done so already, let's open up those chat windows and let us know where you're joining us from today. As I mentioned, I'm coming from Raleigh, North Carolina. It's a little bit chilly today, but I'm just super excited to have you in our last leader talk of this year. So while you're doing this, please feel free to use this chat window for comments and questions. We do have Marcus here from the Allego team who will be addressing those questions throughout this session. So please do not hesitate to plug those questions throughout. And additionally, once this session ends, a brief survey will appear in your browser. Please take a moment to share your feedback on the session and our speakers. And all of our sessions are being recorded and archived on trainingindustry.com, and you will receive a follow-up email from us with a link to the on-demand program for you to share with your team. Now, if this is your first Training Industry event, we would love to welcome you. We exist to make connections among learning and development professionals. We offer tons of resources to support your role in L&D, like live events like today's Leader Talk, as well as through articles on our website, our magazine, conferences, research reports, our membership, and our podcast. We would also love to hear about what you've learned from today's session on social media. So please follow us on your favorite platform so we can continue the conversation. And without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce you to our speakers for today's session. We have David Ashe, who is an innovative and proven leader who delivers rapid growth and exceptional results with over 9 years of experience as a sales development professional. And then we have Niall Carlson, who is a driven sales development representative too at Allego, where he's consistently exceeding performance expectations, including 117% quota attainment in Q3 2025. And with that, gentlemen, take it away.
Thanks, Liz. And thank you everyone for having us. So I'm just going to grab the screen here and hopefully everyone can see my screen. Let's use those emojis to do a little thumbs up. Let me know if you can see it. There we go. Love it. Love it. So this is new. Well, new to me, these little emojis. So feel free to use those throughout the sessions. If you like a topic, you want me to slow down, whatever you need, just use those emojis. But again, thank you for having us today, and thank you for taking time out of your busy day to hear what we have to say. As Liz said, I'm David Ashe. I'm the Senior Director of Global Sales Development here at Allego. My role is centered around how people learn, grow, and build skills that carry them forward in their careers. Okay, these emojis probably are going to distract me, but we'll go through them. There we go. Another one. So it's not just through onboarding, it's throughout their entire journey. And today I'm joined by my co-host, Niall Carlson. Niall, can you say hello?
Hello.
There
Happy
we
to be here.
go. Niall's here not just to support the conversation, but to bring the voice of the end user, the person actually doing the learning, applying new skills, and living the day-to-day. He's also here to challenge me throughout this session. We believe iron sharpens iron. That's not fighting, but if I bring something up, he may jump in and say, hey, well, what about this? And the best ideas come from that healthy friction, shared perspectives, and real world experience. And as Liz said, I have my co-host, Marcus here, who will be manning the chat. We want this to be interactive. I don't want to just be, or we don't want to be just speaking at you. So if you do have questions, as Miguel's raising his hand, feel free to put those in the chat and we can answer those throughout this presentation. Though I do want to make something very, very clear. We are not professional speakers. We are employees just like you. Well, we're more than just employees, but for this presentation, that's what we'll say we are. We are employees. So we learn by doing, we experiment, we fail, we adjust. We're here to share what it looks like in real life, not just in theory. Any questions so far, Marcus?
No
All right.
questions, just a lot of emojis. But if you do have questions, add them to the chat, add them to the Q&A panel. I'll make sure to get those answered ASAP.
Yeah. And I want to see if we get some heart emojis here because anytime I deliver this slide, I get goosebumps. So before we jump into this presentation, I want to ground us in something that is bigger than training, bigger than enablement, and bigger than any single role. Success at work is fundamental to human happiness. I just got goosebumps right there, just saying it again. Wow, that felt good. Not just because work is everything, but because we spend the majority of our waking hours doing it. When people feel competent, confident, and supported in their jobs, it just doesn't improve performance. It improves their life outside of work. They go home happier. They show up for their families differently. They feel momentum instead of feeling stuck. That's why creating a culture of continuous learning matters so much. A learning culture isn't about checking boxes or meeting compliance. It's about giving people the ability to grow, to unlock new skills, to see progress in themselves. When people grow, they feel happier. When they're happier, they perform better. And when they perform better, the entire organization benefits no matter the department. So today is really about how do we build a workplace where growth isn't just an event, it's a habit, where learning isn't just one-time onboarding moment, it's a part of how people experience their job every day. That's the path to a happier workforce and a healthier company. I should just end the presentation there, right? And just move away. That's a great slide. No? Okay. But to kick things off, we want to learn from you. So we're going to give you a lot, but we want to learn from you. And I promise this is our only one poll that we have here. So what's your biggest challenge in sustaining a learning culture?
So I just launched that poll for you, Dash. Melody chimed in on the last slide. It's a very good feeling to know that the L&D team helps make that happen for employees across the organization. And Cindy loves the comment about human happiness. What do you say to employees who don't care about L&D, who never take courses but are good at their job? That's a good one.
Yeah. And we're going to hit on that later in this presentation, but something that was said early in my career that has stuck with me is, and it was a plant metaphor, you're either growing or dying. That plant is either growing or it's on its way dying. What do you want to be? Do you want to continue to grow or do you want to slowly just die? I know it's kind of like, oh, die, but at the end of the day, we're all going to die.
Well, we've got about seven, on that note, we got about 75% participation so far. Get those answers. We'll keep it open for another 5 seconds. If you did add to other at the bottom, add that into the chat and we'll see what you have to say there. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results here. If you just want to take it away from that, if you can see that Dash, go ahead and call some of those out for me for the people that are any on-demand viewers later on.
Yeah. So about 16% is the buy-in. What's in it for me? And that's a big one. 54% leaders don't constantly reinforce learning. We are going to hit on that because that is a big topic. 3% we lack the right tools in making learning accessible. So it's great that you have the tools to deliver it. 22%, it's difficult to measure the impact of learning on performance. Yes, the ROI. How do I show that what I'm doing has an impact on what's happening with our reps? And then 5% is other, and I can't see the chat.
Yeah, I'll call some of those out. So Jody said capacity time is our biggest roadblock. Jennifer said the delusion to existing culture, the lack of self-awareness holding back engagement. So those are just two of them.
Right.
Um,
Those
but
are good ones.
I'll stop sharing here and we can get going.
Okay. All right. So we're going to hit on some of those. So today is about four things we hear over and over anytime organizations try to build a true learning culture. We're going to walk through the four most common barriers teams raise. So the first is we don't have enough time. And I bet we always hear that. Two, no one engages with the content. And that's frustrating. Three, and something that was in the chat or the poll, I'm sorry, leaders don't coach. And four, we only train once a month. And I do want to call something out because you saw in our titles that we are in sales. These aren't just sales problems; these are human problems. Every department feels them: customer success, product, engineering, marketing, support. Anywhere people are expected to grow, adapt, and learn new skills. And that's why today matters because building a learning culture isn't just about performance, it's about helping people feel more confident, more capable, and more supported in the work they do every single day. So we're going to unpack why these barriers show up, what they look like in real life teams, and how small, consistent actions can create a lasting culture of growth across an entire organization. So this is the first one. We don't have time. And this is the first barrier we hear in every organization, no matter the department, function, or seniority level. We don't have time. But here's the truth. People don't need more time. They need learning that fits into the time they already have. So let's break that down. And how do we remove that barrier? The first is self-paced learning. The truth is, people do have time. We hear they say don't have time, but we all have the same 24 hours in a day. But we don't have time in our busy days for those 1 hour meetings that are dropped on our calendar. They have time in the natural gaps of their day, the 15 minutes before a call, 30 minutes while they're waiting for approvals, 45 minutes between tasks. That's why self-paced learning is so powerful. When they're learning to fit it into their workflow, time stops being a barrier. People learn when they control the pace, the moment, and the format. They control the controllables. The second is learning through action. And once learning fits into that workflow, the next step is making sure it actually sticks. And nothing builds competence faster than doing. And this applies to every role, not just sales. So you see it in support, engineering, product, finance, and HR. The moment when someone applies a skill, even in a small way, the brain locks it in. The moment someone applies that, it locks it in. So real action turns into short bursts of learning into meaningful progress. So instead of scheduling big disruptive training blocks that we all experience and we all just go, ick, I don't want to have to do that. We turn real work into micro learning moments. And the third is manager reinforcement. I think this was in the poll that the managers aren't doing this. But here's the catch. Even when learning is flexible and action-based, people still won't engage unless they understand the why and the desired outcome. And that's where the leaders need to step up. Managers give learning purpose. They connect the dots. Why this matters, how it makes their job easier, and how it helps them grow. Without reinforcement, everything competes for attention. And unfortunately, and you probably all experience and don't like hearing it, learning loses. With reinforcement, though, learning rises to the top because people see it as an investment in themselves and not another task. So when you connect these three pieces, flexible learning, learning through action, and stronger manager reinforcement, the we don't have time barrier disappears. People always make time for things that help them grow, make them better at their job, and reduce friction in their day. So I'm going to stop talking for a moment here and ask Niall a question. Niall, what is one of the biggest pushbacks? Well, one of the biggest pushbacks we hear is, I don't have time. You're in the day-to-day grind like everyone else. So can you talk about how you make time for learning? What does that actually look like in your workflow? And how do you stay consistent?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is that it's in my workflow. I don't have to block off an hour for training or commit to a 40-step course. I can learn in those small gaps in my day that you mentioned, in those bite-sized chunks when I need it. I can spend 5 minutes before a call brushing up on what's most important to a learning and development leader, which with that poll, there's got some more notes there that I'll be sure to use going forward. And then right after a meeting, I can listen back to it and send, parts to my manager for feedback. If I had a challenge with a question, answering a question, I can clip that, send it back for feedback, and then sitting in the kitchen getting my coffee or eating lunch, I can review it on my phone as feedback an hour later the next day in my own time. I think a great example of this was actually last month. As a seller, we're all about business days, and with the holiday, November is rough. We kind of lose that whole week. And so the week before Thanksgiving, we actually had an hour training scheduled at, I think it was 10 a.m., which is kind of like golden hours for us to make calls. And so instead of my team spending that hour on a call with everyone, we can keep working. And after the training, that video is broken down to bite-sized chunks so we can, watch the relevant pieces of it when we had time later that day or later that week. And then that reinforcement of my manager and my team really does matter. I think when the why is clear, when I know exactly how a piece of learning will help me on my next call, it becomes a lot more something that I want to make time for. It doesn't feel like a burden or like an additional piece of content. It feels like something that I want to do, and I will squeeze it in because I prioritize that. It makes my job easier, which is what we're all trying to do. So,
Yeah, good points. Good points. Yeah, making your job easier is what we are trying to do. Marcus, you came on screen.
I did, yeah. So we got a lot of chat coming in. I think one of the biggest things I see is that management, it says Nicholas says management tends to be more of a barrier than we think. The creation of culture is in the hands of those that are in authority. So, how do you guys go about, I guess the question would be like, how do you go about breaking down those barriers for higher up people, right? Like Dash, you're in it day to day. Now you're in it day to day, but how do we kind of go to the, top to the bottom, if you
Yeah,
will?
and I'm from New England or from the Boston area, the North Shore. And I want to give an example, and I don't know if any of you all follow the NFL in America, but we used to have a coach named Bill Belichick, and he was a top down, like I am the ruler, I am better than you. You need to respect me, which you should. And it worked for a while, but then people started moving away from him and not responding to it. And now we have a new coach, Mike Variable, and he's a player's coach. So what I'm trying to get at is, being a player's coach, take the human approach. We're all human. We all bleed the same way. We all wake up in the morning. We all go to bed at night, hopefully, because sleep is very important. If you're not, please get some sleep. But at the end of the day, we're all human. So you have to bring that human aspect to it. Learn about each other, learn about their families, learn about what they like, what they do on the weekend. Try to connect before you try to lead. You need to connect before you actually try to manage them, and you have to lead. So, and sometimes you have to manage up. You have to kind of push that leader to open up and show, hey, can I see the human side of you? Because again, we're all trying to move in the same direction. We're all humans, but people need human connection to create that connection.
One thing that I think was funny we talked about on our prep calls was that HR, you shouldn't be, you know, doing learning and training during your lunch breaks or on the weekends or anytime that's not work, big HR no-no. But Carol chimed in and said that often their downtime is really lunchtime. So, what kind of barrier is there to how do you guys kind of handle that?
So that is a culture thing. And we're going to hit on that later about owning your own calendars and creating that culture of learning throughout the day. But it really comes down to managing your time correctly. Hopefully they can find 30 minutes a week, not just on their lunch break. I've worked through my lunch for the last 20 years. But hopefully others take their lunch break because you got to go back and sharpen that axe.
And so
can
now
I just
maybe
add
this
that?
one's for you. Yeah, go ahead and
Yeah, I
take
was
it
going
away.
to
How
add
do
too
you
that.
like, do you block off time or are you, especially being somewhat new to, and in different, you're in the sales role, but like, you can go across different orgs if you'd like to kind of talk about that.
Yeah, so I think, I'll get to it later with the calendar stuff we're going to mention later, but I think in terms of like, weekends or on the way, on the commute or at lunch, like Dash never told me to do that. It's not like I'm being ordered to spend my free time doing this. It's again, as I mentioned, it's something that I want to do because it makes me better. So spending 5 minutes, 10 minutes of my lunch break, listening back to a call or reading the feedback that I can apply right after lunch, like I'm seeking that out because it's manageable. It doesn't feel like that additional thing that I'm being forced to do.
That's great. One last question. So, if we want to do those small actions daily, how do those kind of compound into lasting performance, if you will? Like, how are you boosting employee performance over a longer period of time by taking those small actions, Dash?
I think it's just the compound effect, right? You do one thing extra every day. At the end of the day, you're going to have 365 things you didn't do if you did them. Um, you know, I think it does go back to the how you build that culture and how you, if you're an L&D and you have leaders that are pushing back, you tell them the why, you tell them the desired outcome, and you work with them to build that, to understand that, hey, if I put in one more thing each day, by the time we get to the end of the year, we're going to have 365 things that we wouldn't have had.
And I think I just added that, like, I think Dash did a great job of making learning the goal. I don't think that he pushes hard on us. Obviously our numbers and our end objectives are important, but that 1% every day is a major focus for us. And again, that goes back to culture in terms of the goal here is to improve and the results will follow.
Yep. Yep. And again, these are just the things that have worked for us. Um, we're going to be talking about sales topics and things that we've implemented on a sales team. We're going to give you ideas and you make it into whatever department you may be in. Okay, we ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. But keep them coming. We love the questions. All right, second is content needs engagement. So, second barrier we hear everywhere across every industry, every department is that people just don't engage with the content. And I build content for my team, and that is one of the most frustrating things when you go to the reports and the stats and you look and it's like two people have engaged with it. And then I text the team and I say, why didn't you do this? It's hurting my feelings. No, just kidding. But the truth is, people don't engage with content when the content doesn't engage them. So first, it has to be relevant and it has to be bite-sized, especially with our attention spans because of our cell phones and everything just is there instantaneously. It's going down, 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 down every day or every week, every month, every year. So we can't expect anyone in 2025, and it's going to be 2026 in a few weeks, which is crazy, to sit through a 45-minute training video. It's too much. When learning is broken into small, meaningful pieces, people don't feel overwhelmed. They feel empowered. No one wants to eat the elephant in one bite. We want to split it up into little pieces that are digestible for them. Second, engagement has to be tied to growth and advancement, not just participation. In any organization, engineering, customer success, HR, finance, people want to know, how does this help me move forward? How does this help me grow? For some, how does this get me promoted? So that's where scorecards, competency frameworks, and advanced programs come into play. And I'll hit on the advanced program because I think this is something that I wish I had when I started my sales career, when I was growing up in sales. And it's something I created ever since I've been able to lead an org. So every org I've ever led, I've rolled out an advanced program. Why? Because it gives them a light at the end of the tunnel. It gets rid of the popularity contests. It gives the people who aren't good at brown nosing, like myself, an equal shot to get promoted and to advance into their next career. If the only thing someone is judged on is their day-to-day output, that's what their focus will be. That's what they'll focus on. But when learning objectives are a part of how they get promoted, when mastering skills or completing short development tasks is literally on the path to get them to their next role, engagement stops being optional. So the third, the power of social learning to get people excited about engaging with content. When people see their peers sharing small wins, quick how-to videos, or lessons learned, it normalizes learning. It makes it a part of the culture. Once people see others experimenting, improving, sharing, the whole team starts to lean in. Now, Niall, another question for you, and then we can turn to the chat if there's any questions there. From your perspective as an end user, what makes learning content feel worth engaging with? And how do you use things like advancement tasks or shared peer wins to stay motivated and show you're growing?
Yeah, so for me, I think the content feels worth engaging with when I know it's going to help me solve a real problem I'm facing that day or that week. The short, relevant videos are quick tasks that fit my attention span and don't overwhelm me. Hearing a peer win story on how they handled a tricky objection on a call they just had, it's like a little light bulb goes off, knowing I can use that on a call that week, or maybe I struggled with that on a call yesterday and I can, plug the little piece of the puzzle in and use it next time. And I think that it also just helps create a bit of healthy momentum. When you see others improving and sharing, you go, I want to be a part of that too. Um, as far as the advancement tasks, they've been great from a real simple perspective. As you mentioned, it helps kind of gamify it a little bit and makes it a little more fun to check things off the list and see tangible progress towards promotion because who doesn't want to be promoted and know that's at the light at the end of the tunnel. But I think they also help. They're also great because they show the growth that might not be obvious in the day to day. Dash likes to tell us to think of ourselves as sellers, as our own little small businesses. And something I think it was our president, Mark Magnacca, shared with us on a talk one time was so many teams spend their time working in the business, doing the daily tasks and keeping it running. They don't spend time working on the business to improve it for down the line without learning, right? And so I try to keep that in mind as well with my little one-man business here, with that learning and the advancement tasks help to show that it's working. Having to record a video for my team explaining the different industries and how I would sell differently to them, it's hard to notice that 1% improvement from the day to day. But like taking the time to step back and slow down and go, okay, 3 months ago, this I didn't know this. And here I am 3 months later, comfortable recording it and sharing it with my teammates and my leadership and believing that I'm prepared for that and confident that just helps me to see that growth.
Yeah, yeah. So two things here. And Mark's coming on. We'll answer some chats. The advancement program. So everyone, can we use the emojis here? I do want to make an announcement. So Niall has completed his senior advancement program and is now promoted to a senior SDR here at Allego. Do it here instead of just on the chat. So way to go.
Thank
Oh,
you.
congrats, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There we go. And you talk about sharing things with your team and how that can be contagious. And when you think about it, why is it contagious? It's not just, hey, look at me, I did this and I'm awesome. But you're also influencing your team members. You're helping your team members get better. You're helping the overall team get better. And at the end of the day, that should make you feel good. As humans, we want to help and we want to help people get better.
All right, you ready for some chat questions?
Shoot.
All right, so I did ask about tying compensation and promotions to um, engagement and learning content. And we got some good responses. Valerie said that 100% of the company is on the same page in that. And then a couple
That's
other people
fantastic.
chimed in where it's like kind of a requirement for companies and people to move up. So I was kind of interested. That was a little interesting to me. You guys have any comments on that?
Well, kudos to you because I've been with a few organizations and not a lot of them are doing that. And I know a lot of other people are at different organizations are frustrated because they don't have a clear path to get promoted. So kudos to you all.
Yeah, like we really, Amanda kind of called this out. A lot of it is like compliance trainings. You just checking the box, right? But adding in that performance-based learning and promotion-based is really key, I think.
Yeah, and I'm paying you to get better. The
Right.
better you are, the more money I'm going to give you.
And higher retention rates probably is what
Yeah,
Valerie's probably seeing as well. Valerie, chime in if you think your retention rates are high. Um, so we've
yeah,
got
and
one
challenge
from,
us. Iron sharpens iron, not just
yeah,
from
there you
Niall,
go.
but from the crowd.
Let's see. So we've got Serena asked a question here. Do you have any recommendations to get leadership buy-in on making L&D a KPI for an organization currently rooted in productivity and efficiency?
I don't know much about that, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but at the end of the day, if you're not measuring it, is it worth doing?
Hmm.
Or if you can't
And
measure it, that's always something that was told to me. If I'm going to roll something out, can I measure it? And if I can't, then it's not worth doing.
well, how about this, Dash? What kind of key metrics are you measuring? I mean, obviously you're in the sales department, but what's kind of critical for you, and maybe they can make assumption for them.
Yeah, I mean, I have my leading and lagging indicators. So the leading is the day-to-day KPIs of their inputs, and then the lagging indicators are their outputs. So what are they generating for pipeline for revenue for the company?
Perfect. Anybody else that has KPIs that they're are just key metrics for them? Add those to the chat. Let us know what you're
Yeah,
kind of thinking
share.
there.
I
Yep.
can't answer that question for L&D, but someone in the crowd I bet can.
Oh yeah. Let's see. So we've got yeah, how do you get buy-in from leadership? Tons of I can't even keep up with them. There's so many here. Brandy said, when learning is mandatory, learners complete in a timely manner. However, if it is more self-paced or self-growth, there doesn't seem to be too much initiative or time. So let's feel like, oh, I
Well, that
lost
goes
one
back
there.
to the carrot. What's the carrot?
Mm,
Mandatory is the stick, right? Do it or it gets beat. But what about the carrot? What is, when it's self-paced? what's in it for them. That goes back to how are you communicating? Why do you want to do this? What's the desired outcome when you do this? Can you paint a better picture than what they already have in their mind of doing it? We
All
actually
right.
talked about this. Funny enough, Niall, Mark said that to me yesterday, and actually we were talking about this topic about how we're going to force people to do it versus asking them to do it on their own.
Well, we are just eating up time here, so I'm going to let you get through this
Okay.
presentation. I'll try and answer people's questions as we go here.
All right, but pop on if you want.
Yep.
All right. So the next barrier is a big one, and this is something that we're all just hitting on. And it's not just sales leaders, it's across every department. Leaders are stretched thin, juggling priorities, and coaching often becomes a thing that slips. Coaching should be tied to leaders' compensation. And I said that in one of my sales leadership meetings, and I could feel the hate from the other leaders when they were looking at me after I said it. But I still think it's true, and I want to be compensated that way. I want to show that I'm here in the trenches with my people, even though I'm a senior director. I'll still get in the trenches with the reps and coach them up to make sure that they're doing the best that they can do. So one of the biggest barriers to building a true learning culture is that coaching is often treated as a nice to have, and it shouldn't be. But if leaders own the outcomes, they also should own the behaviors that create those outcomes. Coaching shouldn't be optional. It should be part of how leaders are measured, rewarded, and held accountable. And it doesn't matter whether you're in sales, CS, product support, or ops. There should be some MBOs that are associated for those leaders when it comes to coaching. So, to help leaders coach more, we do have something that can help. And there's something that's out there. The role plays, AI role plays, AI scoring are evolving to help scale coaching. So when coaching becomes a core responsibility instead of an afterthought, people actually get better, not accidentally, but intentionally. Role plays have completely changed the game. This is no longer about the old school sales objection handling. AI role plays can simulate any type of interaction, may it be external conversations, internal discussions, cross functional collaboration, conflict resolution, presentation delivery. Secret time, I used AI role plays to practice this, and even executive level communication. If your role requires communication, decision making, or influence, AI can generate realistic scenarios for that. And the real shift is in how AI surfaces what actually matters in the interaction. It evaluates tone, clarity, structure, confidence, listening, reasoning, all the things leaders rarely have enough time to break down manually. AI provides objective scoring and instant coaching feedback so employees can self correct early, practice more frequently, and track their progress over time. So, this dramatically scales coaching. Instead of leaders trying to personally review every interaction, AI handles the heavy lift, highlights exactly where someone needs support, and frees leaders up to focus on high impact conversation, turns role plays into repeatable, consistent, and scalable development systems for every department. And I do want to call this out. AI won't solve coaching on its own. It starts the conversation, but it can't finish it. It can guide, score, and reinforce, but it can't replace the human connection. Leaders still need to show up to help people understand the why, as we said earlier. The skill matters, how to apply it in their day to day, and how to grow beyond the script. AI is a spark, leaders are what makes it stick. Now, Niall, you've used both live coaching and AI role plays, not just for external call, but internal communications and soft skill development. Can you share how practicing AI simulations has helped you build confidence and show that you've mastered specific skills before you ever bring them into the real world? And you can talk
Yeah,
about the ones you've had to build for the advanced program if you like.
sure. Yeah. So I think that they might be the single most important, impactful piece of learning I've used since joining Allego, especially early on. I don't come from a sales background. So the sales role plays I did during interviews with Dash and some other companies were my first exposure to it. And it certainly felt high stakes and high pressure. You get one or two chances, and you better put your best foot forward right now. And I think that has its place. As you mentioned, there is no substitution for that live coaching. We still do person-to-person role plays once a month as a team. But having the ability to pull up an AI role play on Monday morning and just get some practice with zero pressure, shake off the weekend. No one will ever see it if I don't want them to. I can stumble and mumble my way through it and kind of try new openings or new questions to see what kind of answers I might get or different ways to handle an objection. And if I don't like one, if I do like one, I can look at the AI grading that it provides and get some feedback on what it thinks, or I can send it off to Dash and he can give some feedback as well and comment on it. And I just think the biggest reason that they work for the AI is it actually pushes me. It reacts, it challenges. I can't just memorize a talk track that works and, cheat my way through it just to check the box off. We've had team meetings where we all break out and do the same simulator to test it. And, we come back and someone will say, that was great. She was friendly. And we talked about ABC for 5 minutes and I got a meeting and I'm sitting there going, what are you talking about? She stonewalled me, told me to take her off her list. So you practice different inflections and different personas and if they're happy to see you or not, and work through it. And so I know, knowing it's different every time, I'm not worried about the curveballs. It's not like I studied a specific talk track and if it veers off, I'll be lost and not know where to go. I get to practice staying present and responding to what they give me. And so by the time I get to the real world, I have rehearsed it, I have fixed the rough edges, but I've also proven that I can handle those curveballs. And
Yeah.
I think dash it on the head where it can't replace the live coaching, but I do think that, the AI can get me 60, 70, 80% of the way there and help me work through the basic stuff. And then I can go to my manager for help and he helps me refine that last 30%. And before I know it, I built that confidence that I need that I'm coming from zero before that.
Yeah, which is great. And it doesn't replace it. It does make coaching easier. And one of the things that I say to my managers that have to do coaching is, now you have no excuses, right? They're going to go coach the call. All you have to do is review it and then create a coaching plan for your people. Marcus, you came on screen, but we don't have much time, so maybe one or two chat questions.
Oh, I was just gonna say this is close to your heart. Donna commented about LinkedIn Learning. I know you're
Ooh.
you're advocate about that.
Yeah, I love LinkedIn Learning. It's helped me become a better leader, and I won't say manager, I'll say leader. You have to pay for it on your own in some organizations. I've invested in myself, and I watch different things. It's how I'm getting myself up to speed and trying to be that go-to subject matter expert when it comes to AI for Allego.
And then I just had one clarification question about coaching. All right. Can you just kind of clarify a little bit of coaching versus telling versus like kind of, bringing the person with you, I guess.
So, and everyone thinks coaching is going into a call or just giving people feedback. That's not coaching. That's just point in time feedback. Do this better next time. Coaching is a conversation. It's you identify something and then you work through it until you feel like it's been addressed and corrected, but you don't forget about it and you just think about that on the after you're moved on to a different one. So, coaching is a conversation that never ends. Point in time feedback when you're just saying do this is exactly what I just said, point in time feedback. It's not real coaching. Cool. Let's speed through this. Use emojis. I have to slow down, but we only have almost 5 minutes left, and I have a few more slides. So another big challenge we see across nearly every organization and is the belief that formal training happens once a month. The 60 to 90-minute sessions that get put on our calendar, and we're just like, oh, please no. Everyone checks a box and then we move on in these 90-minute sessions. The problem is these once-a-month training doesn't change behavior, creates information, not transformation. I mean, half the time we leave those meetings, we're like, yeah, I already forgot it at lunch. So you need to make it part of the daily workflow. The shift organizations need to make is moving learning from once a month event, excuse me, to something that lives in people's daily rhythm, that consistency, that discipline. That starts with helping employees own their own calendars. Even 15 to 30 minutes of self-development a week compounds fast. When you break long trainings into bite-sized pieces and pair them with small reinforcement moments throughout the week, learning stops feeling like a disruption. Instead of being something you attend Learning becomes something you practice. And once it integrates into their workflow, time stops being the issue. People actually want to grow. They just need growth to feel manageable and continuous. Another thing is the weekly group collaborations. Instead of waiting 30 days for the next big meeting, we add weekly collaboration moments, quick focus sessions that prevent huge gaps from forming. This doesn't require extra meetings though. It can be as simple as turning an existing team meeting into a space where people coach and develop each other. So one thing I implemented in the past, it was something called "What Did You Learn Wednesday?" Every week, Wednesday, like I said, each person shared something they learned, maybe a new skill they practiced, something they researched, or something the job taught them that week. I took one of my meetings that we talked about your pipeline, what you're working on, what you did last week, and I turned it into more of a collaboration session on how we're getting better. At first, the tenured folks pushed back. They felt like they were above it. It's like, I know everything. I don't want to share. I just want to do what I do and hit the numbers and keep on going. But once they watched their peers developing faster and even surpassing them, they jumped in. The culture pulled them forward. So weekly learning builds a culture where improvement is normal, not an event. And that's how you eliminate the "we only train once a month" mindset. Training becomes continuous, personalized, and woven into the way people work instead of a single meeting that everyone forgets the next day. Niall, I had a question, but I'm going to have to pass on you.
All
Sorry.
right.
So we're almost done here, and then we can turn to some Q&A. Up to this point, we've been talking about why continuous learning matters, but this is where it becomes real. This is where people actually see their growth. If you can see the screen, the competency mapping, and what I can't really see her name, Erica has been doing. One of the most powerful parts of building a learning culture is giving every employee a clear picture of their skills, not just what they think they're good at, but what the data shows based on real interactions, real work, and real evaluation. This is where development stops being abstract and becomes something you can measure, track, and improve. Employees can understand, what am I strong at? What skills am I building? Where am I progressing month over month? And what should I focus on next to advance my career? When people can see their growth, two big things happen. First, motivation goes up. Humans are wired to respond to progress. Second, managers finally get an objective way to coach. Instead of guessing or relying on anecdotes, they can target the exact areas that will make someone better. This isn't about ratings or judgment. It's about giving people a roadmap to improvement, one that's personalized, transparent, and tied directly to the real skills that help them succeed inside and outside of work. All right, made it to our last slide with 2 minutes left here. Before we open it up for questions, I want to bring everything we talked about today full circle. If there's one thing we hope you take away from this session, it's that lasting performance doesn't come from big events. It comes from small lessons applied consistently over time. The compound effect, right? Across every organization we work with, no matter the industry or department, we hear the same 4 barriers. We don't have time. People don't engage with content. Leaders don't coach. We only train once a month. And today we showed that these aren't fixed realities. They're solvable. When learning becomes self-paced, people can grow without feeling overwhelmed. When we make learning bite-sized and relevant, engagement naturally increases. When leaders step in, supported, not replaced by AI, coaching finally becomes scalable. And when we shift from monthly events to daily habits, the culture starts to change. I do want to call out that AI helps us accelerate and support that change, but the most important part is the human element. People choosing to grow, leaders choosing to invest, teams choosing to share and learn from each other. If we can remove these 4 barriers, even just a little, people gain new skills faster, teams feel more confident, and organizations become more adaptable. That's why building a learning culture looks like in real life, not perfection, but progress. So thank you for spending the time with us. I know we're at time here with that. We'd love to open up for questions. I haven't seen Liz's face yet, so I think we do have some time.
I don't know. I'm going to call out
Oh, there's her face.
Oh,
no.
I added Dash's LinkedIn, Niall's LinkedIn. Connect with them. I'm sure, like, message them. We can answer questions. There's a digital room there that's got links to the recording and slides, and a bunch of other free resources that we're giving away. So, Liz, I'll send it over to you. We ran out of time.
It's all right. But thank you very much. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, direct them to Marcus.
Perfect. No, thank you guys. This was a very entertaining session and a great way to kick it off. So I appreciate you all both. And yeah, I'm gonna steal the screen now and show our audience how we get to the next session. But again, thank you guys so much. So for everyone else though, we will be taking that 15-minute break. And up next, we do have Bruce and Liz for their session sponsored by Canvas, building transformative learning cultures that thrive through disruption. So essentially, in just a moment, I'm going to end this session. You can join our next session by returning to that event lobby and going to the session tab. So I hope you all stick around for our next session, which will begin at the top of the hour. Let's keep the energy going, and I will see you all very soon. Bye, everybody.